Okay. All right. So in order to understand house rulership, we have to understand houses. So when you're looking at the chart visually, this is the first house, this is the second house, third house, fourth house, etc. Right. And what the houses represent are areas or compartments of life. So an example is the first house is the body, the physical health, the personality. Second house is our resources, how money comes in, how money goes out. Third house is private thoughts, studies, siblings, certain areas of life, you know? And so if I'm talking to someone and someone is talking to me about an issue that's going on with their sibling, okay, I know to look to the third house. I know to look to the third house. Someone is talking about their partner. I know seventh house is the house of partnership. I know that something is going on with their seventh house. Someone is talking about their friends. I'm going to look to the 11th house. So this is what is meant by areas of life. You know, people will be talking about their feelings, good feelings, bad feelings, happy feelings, sad feelings, right? That's their personal experience, but usually they're talking about those personal experiences relative to some area of life. Okay. And so the inner experience, okay, to me, the root of the inner experience are the planets. Planets live inside. Okay. The houses are the most external part of astrology, right? It's where the stuff happens. And I talked earlier about the system of astrology. We are measuring the influence of the celestial objects, also known as the planets, on human affairs, and we need to measuring them. So signs help us measure something. The houses help us measure something. The houses help us measure where in life, okay, is this internal motivation or this internal urge going to be activated? What things are going to trigger me, okay, for better or for worse, right? Or what things are going to trigger which parts of me? The better way to say it, okay? And in order to answer that question in astrology, we use rulership. So rulership in its very general sense, it means we're trying to understand, right, which urges, which gods, okay, which planets have influence over which area of life. Back to the idea of measuring, okay? So when we say a planet rules a house, it means that planet has direct influence over that area of life. Right. That's the simple way to understand. The next part is a little bit more technical. Okay. In this system, there are two ways for a planet to gain influence or rulership over an area of life. Okay. The first and most obvious is the planet is located in the house. Right. So Saturn becomes the chief ruler of the 11th house. The moon becomes the chief ruler of the 10th house. The sun and Jupiter become rulers of the 9th house. Venus, Mars, and Mercury become rulers of the 8th house. Neptune becomes the ruler of the 3rd house. Uranus becomes the ruler of the 2nd house. Pluto becomes ruler of the 1st house. That's easy because we can see it, you know? We can see it. Second part requires a little bit more learning, right? The other way a planet can become a ruler of a house is if that planet is ruler of the sign on the cusp of the house, right? Now we understand one of the reasons we put this sign on the edge of the cusp so that we know which sign is on that cusp, right? And the memorization is you have to memorize which planets rule which signs. So the planet that is associated with or that rules Virgo is Mercury. So because Virgo's on the cusp of my 1st house, Mercury becomes one of the rulers of my 1st house. So the rulers of my 1st house are Pluto and Mercury. Pluto and Mercury, okay? My 2nd house here, right? Libra is on the cusp of my 2nd house. So we already have Uranus as a ruler. The sign Libra is ruled by Venus, okay? So if I have a question, if I go to an astrologer and I have a question about how can I make money, how can I improve my finances, okay? In this system, the astrologer is going to look at Uranus and they're going to look at Venus and they're going to say, do Uranus well, do Venus well, and the money will show up, right? That's rulership straight up, simple. you know, where you really don't even have to talk to someone, right? You can just put it in. What area of your life are you struggling with? Okay, what are the planets that influence that area of life? Just work on these planets and everything will be fine.